Every time you fight against panic, you lose before you even begin, and today you're going to understand exactly why. Have you ever tried to take a deep breath in the middle of an anxiety attack and felt like it only made things worse? Have you clenched your fists, locked your jaw, forced yourself to calm down, and noticed your heart racing even faster? This happens because of a structural flaw in our strategy for dealing with anxiety, one that almost everyone makes without realizing it. There is a century-old martial art that solved this problem long before modern psychology even gave it a name. It's called judo. Its most important principle sets aside strength or offense, focusing entirely on a single Japanese word, Ukemi, the art of falling without getting hurt. It sounds strange to talk about falling when the subject is anxiety, but stay with me until the end, because once you understand what a fighter's fall has to do with that tightness in your chest during a meeting, or that thought that something terrible is about to happen, you will never try to beat an anxiety attack the same way again. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and tell me one thing in the comments. Have you ever tried to fight off an anxiety attack and felt like it only made things worse? This helps me immensely to know what to bring in the next videos. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. The Engineer Who Never Failed. The story I'm about to tell happened to a software engineer named Ryan Bennett, 29 years old, a rising career at a startup, the kind of professional every manager wants on their team. When a system crashed at 3 in the morning, he was the one who fixed it. When an impossible deadline came up, he was the one who delivered. His colleagues even had a nickname for him, the firefighter, because no matter how big the fire, Ryan would show up and put it out. But there was a detail no one in the office knew. Ryan had learned from a very young age that being reliable was his only way to be worth anything. He grew up carrying responsibilities far too heavy for his age. This pursuit of control became his very identity. Slipping up was out of the question, and showing weakness represented the worst sin he could imagine. Until one day, without warning, his body decided to disagree with that logic. It happened on an ordinary Wednesday. Ryan was sitting at his desk, reviewing some random code, when his heart started racing out of nowhere. His hands began to tingle. His breath caught, as if the office air had suddenly thinned out. A thought took over his mind. Something terrible is about to happen. He didn't know what. He just knew he needed to make it stop immediately. And that was exactly when he made the mistake that would define the next few months of his life. Ryan treated it like a bug, a critical production bug that needed to be fixed with brute force. He held his breath. He locked his neck muscles. He repeated mentally, stop it right now, you can't be doing this in the middle of work." The more he commanded his body to stop, the faster it accelerated. The attack lasted 20 minutes. But it felt like 2 hours. In the following weeks, it happened again and again. In traffic, stuck at a red light, out of nowhere, lying down trying to sleep, his chest tightening right when he needed to relax the most. In an important meeting, at the worst possible moment, with everyone looking at him, waiting for an answer that wouldn't come out. And every time it happened, Ryan used the same strategy: resist with everything he had, hold his body back, control every muscle, force his mind to obey. He started avoiding situations. He turned down 2 meeting invitations he didn't need to decline. He began arriving early at places just to mentally prepare himself, which in practice only gave the anxiety more time to settle in before anything even happened. The more he tried to shield his life against the possibility of a panic attack, the smaller the space became where he could breathe easy. The problem is, this strategy never worked a single time. And the reason behind this is something science discovered relatively recently, but a Japanese martial art already knew more than a century ago. Now stop for a second and think about something. Have you been doing this too? Every time a difficult feeling shows up, do you freeze your body and try to force that feeling away? Pay attention to this the next time you feel your chest tighten. You'll notice that the very first thing your body does is resist, and it's exactly this resistance that we are going to dismantle throughout this video. Chapter 2. The Invitation He Almost Declined. After a particularly severe attack during a meeting with investors, a co-worker named Marcus pulled Ryan aside. He had noticed that Ryan seemed tense, exhausted, always ready with an excuse to leave early. Marcus had been practicing judo for a few years and suggested without much ceremony, "Come train with me this week. It'll help you unwind." Ryan almost said no. The last thing he wanted was to expose himself doing something he wouldn't be good at right away, but something in him, perhaps the sheer exhaustion of fighting his own body alone, made him accept. The dojo was in a simple warehouse, no luxury at all. Worn mats, an old smell of sweat mixed with incense, and a man in his 60s standing in the center of the mat as if that space had belonged to him for decades. This was Tetsuo Ishikawa, the sensei. Tetsuo wasn't the warm type, but he wasn't rude either. He observed people like someone reading a book they've already read before, knowing exactly where the story would lead. When Ryan introduced himself, stammering a bit, saying he had never done any martial arts in his life, Tetsuo simply replied, "Good, that means you haven't learned the wrong habits yet." In the first class, Tetsuo taught the basics: posture, movement, how to grip the partner's GI. Ryan did well, focused, trying to do everything perfectly, the way he did everything in life. But at the end of the class came the part he wasn't expecting, the falls. What's most interesting about this is that if Ryan had declined Marcus's invitation, he would have stayed trapped in that same cycle for the rest of his life. Sometimes change begins with something you didn't even want to do. If you are struggling with anxiety and have never tried anything different from what you've been doing for years, this is your sign. It doesn't have to be judo. It can be any practice that pulls you out of your usual autopilot. Chapter 3. The day he got hurt trying not to fall. A much more experienced training partner applied a simple throwing technique. Nothing aggressive, nothing unusual for someone who has trained for years. But Ryan, by reflex, did what he had done his entire life in the face of any threat. He resisted with everything. He locked his entire body. He tried, with every available muscle, to prevent the fall. The result was a sharp pop in his wrist and a pain that made him sit down on the mat, holding his arm, his eyes watering more from anger than from the pain itself. Tetsuo approached slowly. He didn't show exaggerated concern, nor pity. He knelt beside Ryan, examined his wrist for a few seconds, and said a phrase Ryan would never forget for the rest of his life. "You didn't get hurt because you fell. You got hurt because you tried not to fall." Ryan looked at him without understanding. Tetsuo continued, "In judo, everyone falls. White belts, black belts, Olympic champions. Falling is an inevitable certainty of training, and no amount of extra effort can prevent it. The only question that matters is, do you know how to fall, or do you only know how to freeze?" It was the first time anyone had presented Ryan with an idea that contradicted everything he had learned about dealing with threats. His entire life he had operated under the logic that resisting harder solved any problem. And there, lying on the mat with his wrist throbbing, he began to suspect that maybe this logic was wrong. Keep this phrase close, because it applies to your life too. You don't get hurt by the crisis itself. You get hurt trying to prevent the crisis from existing. The next time anxiety shows up, before you fight it, ask yourself, am I hurting myself more from the fall or from my resistance to it? A neuroscientist from Stanford University, who has studied stress responses for over a decade, explains this phenomenon this way. When the body enters an alert state, whether from a physical blow or an anxious thought, it releases a cascade of cortisol and adrenaline. Consciously resisting this reaction, trying to suppress it with willpower, activates the alarm system even further, because the brain interprets that very resistance as confirmation of a real threat. Moving with the momentum disarms the alarm system, allowing the nervous system to complete the cycle and return to balance. Tetsuo sent Ryan home to rest that day, but asked him to come back to the next class, not to fight, to learn how to fall. Chapter 4. The Art of Falling. In the next class, Tetsuo separated Ryan from the rest of the group for almost 40 minutes, just to teach him Ukemi. He showed him how to round his back instead of straightening it, how to slap the open arm against the mat at the exact moment of impact, spreading the force across a larger area, instead of letting it concentrate on a single point of the body. How to exhale through the mouth, right as he fell, instead of holding his breath. Every instruction shared the same core principle. The golden rule is to distribute the force of the movement. The body needs to act as a cushioning surface, avoiding behaving like a rigid wall that shatters on impact. It took Ryan days to get it. The reflex to freeze was stronger than any verbal instruction, but slowly his body began to understand what his mind still resisted accepting. When he stopped fighting the fall and simply rolled with it, it hurt much less. Sometimes, it didn't hurt at all. During one of these classes, while Ryan was resting between rounds, Tetsuo commented almost in passing something that seemed to have nothing to do with judo. Did you know that great fighters train Ukemi before learning any throws? Mastering the fall is what sets you free. Without it, you become a hostage to your own fear of hitting the ground. And fear, on the mat, is what hurts you the most. Tetsuo explained another detail that kept ringing in Ryan's head for the rest of the week. No one learns Ukemi during a real fight. The body learns to fall by repeating the movement hundreds of times in a controlled environment, under zero pressure, until it becomes a reflex. When a real fall happens in the middle of a match under stress, there is no time to think about technique. The body simply does what it has already trained to do. Ryan got the message. He understood that this didn't apply just to judo. It was a lesson for his life. It was no use waiting for the next crisis to arrive to try some new breathing technique learned on the spot, under maximum pressure. He needed to practice it during calm moments over and over, until his body memorized the pattern on its own. He started practicing deep, elongated exhalations every morning, before even getting out of bed. No more waiting for anxiety to show up, just to try and remember how to breathe properly. Ryan thought about that on his way home. He had never learned how to fall. In any area of his life, he only knew how to resist, hold back, and control. And maybe that was exactly why every panic attack turned into a full-blown war instead of a wave that passes. Here is your first practical tool, and you can practice it right now while watching this video. Inhale through your nose to a count of 4. Hold for 1 second. Exhale through your mouth much slower to a count of 8. Repeat this 3 times. This long exhalation is what activates your body's system responsible for slowing everything down. Practice this today in a calm moment so your body already knows what to do when the crisis actually hits. But Ryan's transformation didn't stop there, because he still needed to understand one final piece. Knowing how to fall on the mat is one thing. Applying it during a real crisis, in the middle of a meeting with your heart racing and the whole world seemingly collapsing, is something else entirely. And his real test was coming much faster than he imagined. Chapter 5. Mind like water. Weeks passed and Ryan kept training. One night after a tough session, he asked Tetsuo how someone manages to stay calm in the middle of a fight when the opponent is literally trying to throw them down. Tetsuo picked up a cup of water resting on the bench next to the mat and poured a little onto the floor. The water spread out, navigated the gaps in the flooring, found its own level, and came to a stop. This is called Mizu no Kokoro, mind like water. Water does not resist the rock that falls into it. It absorbs the impact, agitates for a moment, and returns to stillness all by itself. It requires no effort. It is its nature. Your mind can work the same way, Tetsuo continued. The problem is that most people waste energy trying to push disturbing thoughts back out with their own hands. This effort is exactly what keeps the water agitated for longer. Ryan began to apply this outside the dojo. The next time he felt the beginning of an attack, in traffic, stuck in a gridlock, he did something different from everything he had done before. Instead of freezing his body and fighting the sensation, he dropped his shoulders. He let the air out much slower than it went in, just as Tetsuo had taught him on the mat. And for the first time in months, he whispered a simple phrase to himself. This is panic. It will pass. It wasn't magic. The attack still came, but it lasted half the usual time. Now, I want to show you a second very simple tool that you can use today. The next time you feel anxiety creeping in, instead of fighting it in silence, say to yourself, even if in a whisper, this is anxiety and this will pass. Don't say, "I am anxious." Say, "This is anxiety." It seems small, but this shift in words changes how your brain processes the sensation. A researcher in clinical psychology from Yale University, who studies emotional regulation, describes this effect precisely. The simple act of naming an emotion, telling yourself, "This is anxiety," instead of fighting it silently, activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces activity in the amygdala, the region of the brain responsible for triggering the danger alarm. It's a mechanism that neuroscience confirms decades after Eastern traditions already taught the exact same principle in a different way. Ryan realized he wasn't alone in learning this. On the mat, he saw more experienced students falling 10, 20 times in a single class, getting right back up without any drama, ready to fall again. For them, falling was no longer a failure. It had become just another movement within the training. And that was when he understood something that would change everything. The real problem lived in the meaning he gave to the anxiety attacks, not in the episodes themselves. Every crisis became, in his mind, proof that he was weak, broken, incapable. This distorted interpretation was what drove him to fight so hard against something that, if left alone, would pass on its own. Chapter 6. The Real Test. 3 months after starting judo, Ryan faced his hardest test, a decisive presentation to the company's board of directors, the kind of meeting that determined whether his project continued or got cancelled. 5 minutes before walking into the room, he felt the familiar trigger. Heart racing, hands tingling, that thought that everything was about to fall apart. The old Ryan would have locked his entire body, forced a fake smile, and walked into the room pretending everything was fine while fighting a war inside against every sensation. This Ryan did things differently. He stopped in the hallway for 30 seconds. He let his shoulders drop. He released his jaw, which without him realizing had been clenched for minutes. He breathed in through his nose for 4 counts and let the air out through his mouth for 8, much slower, the way he had practiced countless times while falling on the mat. He whispered softly, "This is anxiety. It will pass, and I don't need to beat this right now. I just need to move through it." He didn't try to eliminate the fear. He didn't try to fake confidence he didn't feel. He let the fear exist alongside him, without fighting its presence, the exact same way he let his body relax during a fall instead of freezing against it. He walked into the room with his heart still racing, but this time it wasn't a war, it was just a passing sensation, one that he recognized and that he knew would leave on its own. The presentation was a success. The anxiety was still there, but Ryan now had plenty of energy to focus on his work, since he had stopped warring with his own body. After that day, Tetsuo gave a name to what Ryan had achieved. That was Fudoshin, immovable mind. It doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means that fear can be present without being able to tear you down. The warrior feels the danger, but his mind simply does not move with it. And there is a second part to this, Tetsuo added. After the wave passes, you avoid both total carelessness and the hyper-vigilance of someone waiting for the next attack. The goal is to maintain a relaxed state of alertness, present but without tension. This is called zanshin. It's the state of someone who knows the fall might come again, and because of that, no longer needs to fear it. You don't need to wait for fear to vanish before you act. Ryan walked into that room with his heart still pounding. The next time you need to do something important and anxiety shows up beforehand, don't wait for the anxiety to leave to begin. Let it be present with you. It doesn't need to disappear for you to be able to move forward. But Ryan's transformation didn't stop there, because there is one last piece of this puzzle that almost no one applies correctly. And it was what allowed him to stop merely surviving the attacks and start moving through them, almost without noticing. 2 weeks after this episode, Ryan had a relapse, a severe attack in the middle of a call with an important client, and this time his old body won. He froze up all over again, held his breath, and left the call, making up a technical issue just to hide in the bathroom for 10 minutes. He went home feeling like a failure, thinking all his progress had been an illusion. In the next training session, he told Tetsuo, expecting some disappointment. Tetsuo just shook his head, almost bored by the news. How many times do you think a black belt falls incorrectly, even after years of training? Every week. The great difference of a black belt lies in their capacity to get back up and accept the next round without carrying the weight of the previous tumbles. That put Ryan right back on track. The relapse didn't erase months of training. It was just another fall within a process that kept going, and keeping going was the only thing that actually mattered. Chapter 7. The Transformation. In the following months, Ryan learned another tool from Tetsuo, this one coming from outside the mat, from the Zen traditions that influenced judo itself. It's called Ichigyo Zamai, total absorption in a single action. When his anxious mind started to generalize, spreading panic to every aspect of his life all at once, Ryan learned to reduce everything to a single point. One breath, one step, one concrete task in front of him, and nothing more. This cut off the spiral before it could grow. Because a mind cannot be completely absorbed in a single thing, and at the same time scattered across imaginary catastrophes. 6 months after that first crisis in the office, colleagues started noticing a change in Ryan. He was still the same reliable professional as always, but he had a new calm about him, something no one could quite explain. In a tense meeting, when everything seemed to be spinning out of control, someone commented, "Man, how do you stay so calm at a time like this?" Ryan just smiled. "I don't stay calm. I just stopped fighting the fact that I'm not calm." This phrase summarizes everything he had learned on the mat. The calm he achieved grew out of acceptance. He simply stopped treating panic like an enemy to be destroyed at all costs. Because in the end, anxiety works exactly like a fall in judo. It is going to happen. There is no training, technique, or willpower capable of guaranteeing that anxiety will never show up again. What really matters has never been how to avoid falling. It has always been whether you know how to fall and get back up, or if you are just trying to avoid and ignore that this problem exists. When your mind starts spreading panic to everything at once, choose a single point to focus on. A breath, an object in front of you, a simple task you can complete in the next 30 seconds. This cuts off the spiral before it grows. You don't need to fix your whole life in this instant. You just need the next step. Before closing this video, I want to leave you with a simple plan for the next 7 days. Nothing complicated, just enough for you to start training these tools before you actually need them, the exact same way Ryan trained Ukemi before he actually needed to fall. Days 1 and 2. Train breathing in calm moments. Twice a day, morning and night, do 4 cycles of 4x8 breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, let the air out for 8. Don't wait for anxiety to show up to practice this. The goal is for the body to learn the pattern before the crisis arrives. Days 3 and 4. Add naming. Continue with the breathing, but now at any moment of the day you feel a slight tension, even outside of a panic attack, practice naming what you feel, saying to yourself, "This is frustration," "This is exhaustion," or "This is irritation," and understand that it will pass gradually. Day 5. Practice single-point focus. Choose one task in your day. It could be washing dishes, walking to work, drinking a coffee, and do that task with total attention, no phone, without thinking about anything else at the same time. This trains the mind to sustain focus on a single point, the tool that cuts off the spiral of thoughts. Day 6. Bring it all together in a low-risk situation. Choose a moment in your day that usually generates minor discomfort, like an annoying phone call or a traffic jam, and apply all 3 tools together. The long exhalation, naming the sensation, and focusing on a single concrete point in front of you. Day 7. Reflect and repeat. At the end of the week, stop for 2 minutes and ask yourself, what changed? Where did I still freeze up? You don't need to have mastered anything yet. You just need to keep practicing the exact same way Ryan kept falling until his body learned on its own. If at any point anxiety is affecting you frequently or intensely, this plan is a starting point, not a substitute for speaking with a healthcare professional. Think about every time you've tried to force yourself to calm down and felt it only made things worse. Think about every moment you held your breath, froze your body, and fought internally with a sensation that only wanted one thing: to pass. Ryan learned the hardest way possible, with an injured wrist on the floor of a dojo, that resisting a fall is what breaks bones, not the fall itself. He learned that the mind can behave like water, absorbing the impact and returning to stillness all on its own. He learned that there is a mind that does not move even while feeling fear, and a state of alertness that remains after the storm without tensing anything. He learned that reducing everything to a single point of attention cuts off any spiral before it can grow. None of these tools eliminated anxiety from his life, and perhaps that is the most important twist in this whole story. The goal was always focused on moving through the experience without getting hurt along the way, leaving behind the idea of eliminating it. The question left for you is the same one Tetsuo left for Ryan that day on the mat. The next time panic arrives, are you going to waste all your energy trying to prevent the fall? Or are you finally going to learn how to fall well? If this video changed the way you view your own anxiety attacks, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future content like this. And tell me down below in the comments, when was the last time you fought against a difficult feeling and felt like it only made things worse? And if you want to continue this journey, watch this video appearing on the card right now. Always remember to watch and put into practice what we bring here to the channel. Thank you so much for making it this far. See you in the next video.